The blood rushed to my fingertips, making them tingle as I tightened my grip on the key card. It was strange, really, how something so small, a thin rectangle of plastic, could represent years of struggle, millions in investment, and a lifetime's worth of ambition. Yet at this moment, it felt unbearably heavy. I stood before the towering glass doors of the Grand Azure, the hotel I had built from foundation to chandelier, and found myself blocked by the one person who had enjoyed tearing me down since childhood. Vanessa's silhouette emerged sharply against the glow of the lobby lights, her hands on her hips in that practiced pose of superiority she had perfected long before either of us knew the meaning of hard work. "You can't seriously think you're coming in," she whispered, her tone dripping with condescension, so thick it nearly suffocated me. The glint in her eyes was familiar, the same glint she wore when she won something she hadn't earned. Her dress sparkled under the lights, but not in the expensive, tasteful way she intended. No, I recognized the fabric instantly. Knockoff. I had seen the original sketches during lunch with my designer friend a few weeks ago. It was almost poetic wearing imitation luxury to a hotel dripping with authentic elegance. Behind the glass, the lobby I designed hummed with warm golden light. I could hear laughter, my father's loud, booming voice rising above the din like a king in his castle, and it hit me with the force of a memory I had tried to bury. His laugh had always been overpowering, drowning out everyone else's, especially me. Fitting, I supposed, that he'd be celebrating inside my empire while I stood outside like some unwelcome servant waiting for permission to exist. "This is the Grand Azure, Ellie," Vanessa continued, leaning closer as if sharing a secret. "The tasting menu alone costs more than you make in a month." I almost laughed. I had created that menu, collaborated with Chef Michelle for weeks to curate every flavor profile, selected every ingredient, approved every pairing. But of course, Vanessa wouldn't know that. She never cared to know anything beyond her own reflection. "He's my father too," I said, surprising myself with the steadiness of my voice. The small envelope in my clutch weighed heavily against my palm, a gift I had chosen carefully, thoughtfully, lovingly. A deed to a villa in Tuscany. I had told myself it didn't matter if they appreciated it. But as Vanessa rolled her eyes and crossed her arms, the sharp sting of their dismissal twisted deeper than I expected. "What is that?" she snorted. "A gift card to Olive Garden." Her mockery triggered a flash of memory, being 14, standing in the kitchen, proudly presenting a cake I had baked for Dad's birthday. Vanessa had laughed then too, called it cheap, while Dad barely glanced at it. Back then, I didn't know I was baking ingredients I had paid for with my allowance. I didn't know I was pouring heart into something destined to be ignored. Now, decades later, history tried to repeat itself. My mother's heels clicked sharply against the marble as she approached. Her face, always carefully composed, tightened with irritation the moment her eyes landed on me. "Ellie, what are you doing here? We discussed this." No, they had discussed it. I had received a 5-word text that morning. "Don't come. You can't afford it." The absurdity of it all pressed against my ribs until my breath hitched. I had landed in a private jet just hours earlier. I had driven here in a limited edition sedan worth more than Vanessa's entire salary for a year. I owned penthouses, yachts, investments, and 35 hotels, including this one. Yet to them, I was still the failure, the daughter who had walked away from the family accounting firm and therefore forfeited any right to respect. "I brought a gift," I managed, lifting the envelope slightly. "Oh," Vanessa laughed, "did you save your tips for this?" Tips. As if I hadn't built an empire while letting them believe I worked as a glorified waitress. My mother's gaze swept over my outfit, a sleek black silk dress hand-stitched by a Parisian atelier that chose clients by invitation only. Her lips curled into a patronizing smile. "Well, at least you tried." Tried. The word echoed inside me like a dull thud. I thought about the board meeting I'd left early that morning, about the expansion contracts I had signed, the hotels I had opened, the thousands of employees who depended on me. I thought about nights I slept in office chairs, days I juggled budgets to save a failing property, years I lived without support, guidance, or approval from the people who should have cared. Vanessa took a step closer, blocking me again. "You can't come in. We reserved the entire VIP floor. It's for family and distinguished guests." Distinguished guests. The Andersons, who rented 3 of my properties. The Blackwoods, who begged for membership at my resort. Mr. Harrison, whose bank requested a loan from my investment group. They were distinguished, apparently. Me, I wasn't even allowed inside. "So," Vanessa smirked, "go home, you don't belong here." For a moment, I considered leaving, truly leaving, letting them choke on their assumptions and drown in their own ignorance. But something shifted deep inside me, something that had been waiting years for this exact moment. My jaw tightened, my spine straightened, my pulse steadied. "Actually," I said softly, "I think I'll stay." The doors behind Vanessa suddenly swung open, and Owen stepped out tall, composed, wearing the signature navy suit of Grand Azure Security. His eyes scanned the scene before settling on me with immediate recognition and deep respect. "Is everything all right here, Madam CEO?" he asked, his voice carrying across the entrance like a bell in a cathedral. The world fell silent. "Madam CEO." Vanessa froze. My mother's breath caught. The evening breeze stilled as if the universe itself paused to listen. Owen continued, perfectly professional. "Your usual table is ready. Chef Michel awaits your approval on the tasting menu." I smiled, calm, controlled, powerful. "Perfect timing," I said, stepping forward. "My family was just telling me I couldn't afford to be here." Owen blinked in honest confusion. "But you own the entire hotel chain." I turned to look at the people who had spent a lifetime underestimating me. "Yes," I said, my voice steady and sharp as crystal. "I do." And then I stepped inside my hotel, leaving them rooted to the floor in shock. The lobby doors glided shut behind me with a soft hush, sealing my family outside as if the hotel itself knew who did, and didn't, belong within its walls. Warm amber lights bathed the space in a golden glow, reflecting off polished Italian marble so pristine it appeared liquid. The soft hum of hushed conversations, clinking glasses, and elegant piano chords floated through the air like a symphony composed just for me. For a moment, I let myself breathe it in. Every chandelier, every marble tile, every lavish arrangement of white orchids was mine. My fingerprints were in every corner, my decisions embedded into every inch of the building. The staff who passed by offered subtle bows, their respect neither forced nor exaggerated. It was familiar, natural, earned. Behind me, the doors opened again, and my family stumbled inside in a stunned cluster, still absorbing the seismic revelation that had shattered their assumptions. Vanessa's heels clicked unevenly on the marble, her confidence evaporated. My mother's face was pale and taut, her perfect posture wilted for the first time I could remember. Gavin trailed behind them, blinking rapidly as if adjusting to new light after years in the dark. But I didn't slow down for them. Owen walked beside me, his tone shifting from professional to protective. "We increased security presence tonight since many high-profile guests are here," he said quietly. "Would you like me to escort your family to the elevator or elsewhere?" He didn't finish the sentence, but I understood the implication. I smiled faintly. Let them struggle to catch up. We approached the center of the lobby where the grand staircase spiraled upward like a sculpture. Several guests stood chatting at its base. As soon as they saw me, the shift was immediate, politeness morphing into recognition, recognition blooming into awe. One man, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit, nudged his wife and whispered, "That's her. That's the woman who bought the Blackwell District property for double market value." His wife gasped softly. "She's even younger than I imagined." Another guest, a tall, elegant woman dripping diamonds, stepped forward with a gracious smile. "Miss Eleanor," she said warmly, "your Bali resort is simply extraordinary. My husband and I spent our anniversary there. We've never experienced service like that." I thanked her politely, maintaining composure even as I saw Vanessa watching from a distance, her expression curdling like spoiled cream. She hadn't expected that. Not the attention, not the reverence, not the reality that people respected me, genuinely, for my achievements. My mother cleared her throat and approached cautiously, as if nearing a wild animal. "Ellie," she began, her voice trembling between disbelief and fear. "You own all of this." I turned slightly, giving her a calm, unreadable expression. "Yes." "But you told us you were managing a restaurant," she said weakly. "No," I corrected. "You assumed, and I didn't bother correcting you." The honesty struck like a slap. Her mouth opened, then closed again. Before she could attempt to recover, a loud voice cut across the room. "Miss Eleanor, a moment, please." Mr. Harrison, the banker with the thinning gray hair and perpetual worry lines, hurried toward me, nearly tripping over a decorative rug. His desperation was palpable. "I am so grateful you are here. I have been trying to schedule a meeting with you for months regarding the expansion loan." I raised a hand gently. "Tonight is my father's birthday. Business can wait." The man nodded furiously, almost bowing. Of course. But if there is anything at all, you need from the bank, my office is at your disposal." My mother's head snapped toward him so fast I feared she might strain her neck. Her eyes darted between him and me, trying to compute why a bank executive would grovel before her failure of a daughter. But there was more. Thomas Anderson appeared next, polished and confident. He clasped my hand warmly. "My dear, you have been a ghost in the business world, brilliant, elusive, and impossible to pin down. I had no idea you were Robert Thompson's daughter." His eyes slid toward my father, who was watching from across the lobby. "He is very lucky." Lucky, a word I had never heard associated with me from their lips. Still, I kept my tone measured. "Thank you. Enjoy the evening." As he walked off, whispering excitedly into his phone, the Blackwoods approached. Old money, sharp suits, colder hearts. "Miss Eleanor," Mrs. Blackwood said, her pearls gleaming under the chandelier light, "would you consider reopening enrollment for your private resort membership? We have been on the wait list for nearly a year." Interesting how quickly people shifted tones when they realized the value of the person in front of them. Vanessa's fiancé, Daniel, finally overcame his shock and approached with a forced smile. "Ellie," he said smoothly, "you never mentioned you were, well, successful." I raised an eyebrow. "And you never mentioned your firm is 3 months behind rent." His face paled, and he muttered something unintelligible as he slunk back toward Vanessa, who grabbed his arm with white-knuckled panic. They whispered frantically, their once perfect facade cracking under the weight of truth. My mother tried again. "Ellie, sweetheart, why didn't you tell us? We would have supported you." I stopped walking, turning fully to face her. "Would you?" I asked softly. "Because the last time I tried to share my dreams, Dad called me a glorified waitress and you laughed." Her composure faltered. She opened her lips to speak, but no words came. "Madam CEO," Rachel, my front desk manager, approached with a gracious bow, unknowingly rescuing my mother from the silence. "Your private elevator is ready." I nodded. "Thank you." Rachel stepped aside, allowing me to proceed. Behind me, I heard my mother whisper to Vanessa, "Why didn't she ever tell us?" Vanessa hissed back, because she knew we'd never believe her. They weren't wrong. I stepped into the private elevator, the one requiring a master key that only I possessed. As the doors slid open, the gold-rimmed interior gleamed invitingly, reflecting my composed expression back at me. My family scrambled in after me. Vanessa, Gavin, my mother, clustered together like confused sheep in the wrong pasture. Just before the doors closed, I caught sight of my father standing outside the ballroom entrance, staring at me with an expression I had never seen on his face. Not anger, not disappointment, not superiority, but fear. And something far more unsettling for him, reverence. The doors whispered shut, carrying us upward in tense, suffocating silence. No one dared speak. Not because they had nothing to say, but because they finally realized I was no longer the girl they dismissed. I was the woman they had never even bothered to know. The elevator rose smoothly, A silent glass capsule gliding upward through the core of the building like a vessel, breaking through leg gained, elevating me further from the small, apologetic daughter they once knew. Vanessa stood stiffly against the mirrored wall, clutching her knockoff designer bag as if it were a life preserver. Her face was a mask of humiliation and disbelief, not because I owned a hotel, but because her entire identity, built on being the successful daughter, had just crumbled like stale cake. Gavin tapped rapidly on his phone, probably messaging someone about the emergency situation. His reflection in the mirrored wall looked ghostly, the shine of arrogance washed clean. My mother remained silent, her manicured fingers twisting around her pearl necklace like prayer beads. She kept glancing at me, then quickly away. The elevator's golden lights did nothing to soften the panic in her eyes. A soft chime sounded, and the doors parted, revealing the entrance to the VIP floor, my masterpiece. A private foyer opened into an expanse of glass and gold, illuminated by custom Swarovski chandeliers that cascaded like frozen waterfalls. The scent of fresh jasmine lingered in the air, carried by a subtle breeze from hidden vents that maintained perfect climate control. Plush velvet carpets muffled our steps as we walked. Vanessa's jaw slackened. "This is unreal." "These are your father's birthday arrangements," I replied calmly. "I hope you approve." She blinked rapidly, confused by the politeness. It was easier for her to understand cruelty. Kindness disarmed her completely. My mother finally spoke, her voice tight. This cost a fortune." "It did," I answered simply. I didn't add that I had personally covered every detail, from the imported Venetian glass Daker to the bespoke menu created for the occasion. I didn't mention the $1 million budget, or that I hardly noticed the expense anymore. As we stepped into the main lounge, guests turned instantly. Their whispers grew louder, bolder, unable to be contained. "That's her. She owns the entire Grand Azure chain. She's the mystery investor from Europe. She built a $1 billion empire in under a decade." Each comment fell like verdicts, reshaping who my family believed I was. My father rose from the head of the long banquet table, his gold-rimmed glasses reflecting the chandelier light as he stared at me in open disbelief. He looked smaller, somehow, like the towering presence of my childhood had shrunk now that the illusion had been shattered. "Eleanor," he said, voice breaking, you actually came." "I did," I replied, meeting his gaze evenly. "It is your birthday, and I had something for you." I reached into my clutch and pulled out the envelope Vanessa had mocked earlier. The simple, understated envelope contrasted with the opulence of the room, yet it held more value than anything here. I extended it. My father hesitated before accepting it. He opened it slowly, eyes scanning the documents inside. Confusion morphed into shock. "This is a villa in Tuscany." "One of my private properties," I said. "You always talked about wanting to retire somewhere peaceful. I thought you might like it." His hands trembled slightly. "This is too much." "It's appropriate," I said softly. Behind us, a swell of murmurs rippled through the room. People leaned toward one another, heads bent, voices hushed. "That villa is worth at least $8 million. It must be from her private collection. She is unbelievably powerful." My mother's breath hitched. She looked as if someone had pulled the ground from beneath her feet. "Ellie, why would you do this? After everything, after how we treated you?" I didn't answer, not yet, because someone else spoke up first. It was Daniel, Vanessa's fiancé, whose voice trembled as he stepped closer. "Ellie, listen. If you ever need anything, business advice, legal assistance, anything at all, I'd be more than happy to help." Vanessa rounded on him, her face flushing scarlet. "Business advice? She doesn't need advice, Daniel. She owns half the city." "But earlier you said—" "I was wrong," she snapped, her voice cracking. "Okay, I was wrong." People stopped eating. Some looked discreetly amused, others visibly uncomfortable. I watched Vanessa unravel, each thread of her arrogance snapping under the weight of truth. "You made me look stupid," she hissed. "All these years I defended you. I told people you were struggling but trying your best. I painted you as some charity case. The irony made me smile faintly. You didn't defend me, Vanessa. You ridiculed me behind my back and felt superior because you thought my life was beneath yours. My voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The truth carried its own power. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. She'd never cried over hurting me, only over losing face. Gavin stepped forward quickly, switching tactics like a slick politician. Listen, Ellie, I think we got off on the wrong foot. We should collaborate. Maybe combine our networks. Your hotel's my bank. Your bank, I repeated slowly, raising an eyebrow. The bank your audit report shows is being considered for acquisition by one of my subsidiaries. Gavin's mouth fell open. You're the one buying the bank. Possibly, I said, assuming the numbers align. A wave of laughter broke out among nearby guests, not mocking me, but mocking him. His face reddened. Vanessa looked ready to collapse. My mother placed a trembling hand on the table. All these years, we thought you were barely managing. Why didn't you say something? Why didn't you tell us who you really were? Because you never asked, I answered quietly. You assumed I failed. You needed me to be small so you could feel successful. My father looked up from the documents, pain carving deep lines into his expression. Ellie, we misjudged you, all of us, but especially me. I turned to him, the only person in this room whose apology still mattered, even if I no longer needed it. You misjudged me because you never tried to see me, not once. He opened his mouth to speak, but I lifted a hand gently. Later, Dad. For now, enjoy your birthday. I began walking toward the balcony that overlooked the shimmering city skyline. My heels sank softly into the plush carpet. My dress whispered around my legs. Conversations resumed behind me, only now every word carried a newfound reverence. As I reached the balcony doors, Vanessa stumbled after me, grabbing my arm. Wait, please. Ellie, what happens to us now? I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in years. She wasn't the confident, polished woman she pretended to be. She was insecure, afraid, always performing for approval. Nothing happens to you, I said softly. Your life doesn't change because of who I am. It only changes because of who you chose to be. Her lips trembled. So, you won't ruin us? I don't need to ruin you, I replied. You've done that yourself. I walked away, leaving her speechless as I stepped onto the balcony, the city lights reflecting in my eyes like constellations I had arranged myself. Inside the VIP hall, my family stood in stunned silence. Their world had tilted, their hierarchy inverted. Their assumptions shattered beyond repair. And for the first time tonight, I felt the full weight of my power. Not because I owned hotels or skyscrapers, but because I no longer needed their validation. The night air brushed against my skin as I stared out over the city. The skyline glittered like a crown in the darkness, a crown I had built with my own hands. Behind me, the murmurs grew louder, more frantic, more desperate. Part 4. The evening sun was melting into the horizon as Ellie stood near the glass balcony of the Azure Tower's exclusive penthouse floor. The golden light spilled across her face, highlighting the calm strength she carried now, a strength she had earned through years of loneliness, humiliation, and quiet victories. She inhaled slowly, steadying her breath, while below her the city throbbed with life, cars, lights, people. A world she had once felt she didn't belong to, yet now she owned it. Ellie, a hesitant voice came from behind. Ellie turned slowly. Her father stood at the doorway, shoulders slumped, eyes full of exhaustion and guilt. He looked nothing like the confident, booming man she had grown up with. Instead, he looked older, smaller, fragile. He walked closer, but not too close, almost as if afraid he no longer had the right. I asked the staff where you were, he said quietly. They all refer to you with so much respect. Madam Ellie, Ms. Bennett, owner, I had no idea. Ellie didn't respond. She simply folded her arms, waiting. Her father swallowed hard. I want to talk if you'll let me. She nodded, but her face remained unreadable. He approached the balcony with her, hands trembling. "When I saw you earlier downstairs, treated with so much honor, when I realized the empire you built, I felt something inside me break." His voice cracked. "I failed you, Ellie. I see that now." Ellie blinked slowly. "You failed me a long time ago." Her father inhaled sharply, as if stabbed by the truth. Ellie continued, voice low but steady. "Do you remember when I was 14? I won that National Science Award. The judges said my design was 2 years ahead of its time. And when I brought the medal home, you barely looked at it. You said Vanessa had a dance recital that night and that everyone should focus on her." He closed his eyes, pained. "I remember." "I stood in the hallway alone," Ellie said, "holding that medal for hours. I kept waiting for you to be proud of me. I waited for you to say something, anything. You didn't." Her father's hands shook. "Ellie, I loved you." "No," Ellie cut him off gently. "You loved the idea of Vanessa more." He bowed his head, unable to argue. Ellie's voice softened, but carried an ache that had been buried for years. "Every accomplishment of mine was treated like an inconvenience. Every success was overshadowed by Vanessa's drama. Every time I tried to speak, someone told me to lower my voice, not make things complicated, not embarrass the family." Her father looked at her with shattered regret. "I didn't realize you felt so invisible." "You didn't realize because you didn't care enough to look," she responded. There was no anger, only truth. He exhaled shakily. "Ellie, you were the quiet one, the responsible one. I thought you didn't need the attention." "And Vanessa did?" Ellie asked calmly. He nodded helplessly. "She was emotional, unpredictable, fragile. She demanded space. You held yourself together." "So you rewarded her chaos," Ellie said, "and punished my self-control." Her father pressed a hand to his forehead, devastated by her words. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Ellie. I see now how badly I failed you. If I could go back." "You can't," Ellie said quietly, "and I don't expect you to." Her father looked up, eyes wet. "But if there's anything I can do now, anything at all, please tell me." Ellie turned back to the city. "There's nothing you can do to fix the past, but you can stop pretending that Vanessa's happiness is more important than mine. You can stop enabling her cruelty. You can stop manipulating situations to protect her ego at the cost of everyone else's peace." He nodded slowly. "I can do that." Ellie tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear, voice softer. "Dad, I never wanted revenge. I never wanted you to feel small or ashamed. I just wanted you to see me, to acknowledge me, to treat me like your daughter instead of a placeholder." Her father exhaled deeply, and for the first time in her life, he bowed his head to her, not in fear, but in acceptance. "I see you now," he whispered, "truly." A long silence followed. A gentle, emotional silence in which years of unspoken pain hung between them like a fragile bridge. Just then, hurried footsteps echoed through the hallway. Her mother burst into the penthouse, frantic, adjusting her pearls and hair as if she had been crying, and blaming others for it. "Oh, Ellie, thank God I found you," her mother cried. "You need to come downstairs right now. People are gossiping. They're whispering that Vanessa insulted the CEO, who turned out to be you. We need to fix this. We need to explain." Ellie turned, her eyes steady, cold in a calm way. "Explain what?" she asked. Her mother flailed her hands dramatically. "That it was all a misunderstanding, that Vanessa didn't mean it, that your family didn't treat you poorly, that everything is fine, we have a reputation to protect." Ellie stared at her, almost amazed at the audacity. "My whole childhood was not a misunderstanding," Ellie said sharply. Her mother blinked, stunned. Ellie walked closer, her voice quiet but firm. "You're not upset because of what happened. You're upset because people saw it. Because now you can't spin the narrative. Because for the first time, Vanessa isn't the golden girl, and you aren't the flawless mother." Her father looked painfully down at the floor. Her mother's face turned pale. "Ellie, sweetie, you're taking this too personally." "No," Ellie interrupted. "I'm taking it realistically." Her mother stepped forward, voice trembling with forced sweetness. "We're family. Family should stay united." Ellie tilted her head. Family should also stay honest, but we never did. Her mother froze, her smile collapsing. Ellie took a deep breath. From now on, I'm choosing peace, and that means distance. Her mother gasped, horrified. Distance from your own mother. Ellie didn't flinch. If peace requires it, yes. Her father looked up, eyes glistening. He didn't argue, he understood. Her mother opened her mouth to protest again. But Ellie raised a hand, silencing her. I'm done being the villain in your story, Ellie said softly, and I'm done trying to be the hero in yours. She turned away, walking toward the private elevator. Her parents stood frozen behind her, her father broken with guilt, her mother stunned with disbelief. Ellie pressed the elevator button. The doors slid open, and she stepped inside, slowly, with the steady grace of a woman who had finally taken control of her own narrative. As the doors closed, Ellie whispered only to herself, I finally choose me. Part 5, Final. The elevator doors slid shut behind Ellie with a quiet hum, sealing her away from the emotional chaos that had erupted downstairs. As the cabin ascended toward the executive floors, she felt a strange mixture of relief and heaviness settle over her chest. The weight of years of silence, years of being overlooked, years of waiting for validation from people who were never capable of giving it. And now, for the first time, she had walked away, fully, consciously, unapologetically. When the elevator opened, soft golden lights illuminated the private penthouse-level corridor. Her footsteps echoed in the serene silence as she headed toward her office suite. This floor, designed entirely to her preferences, radiated calmness: minimalist marble, soft beige walls, floor-to-ceiling glass windows overlooking the city skyline. A sanctuary far removed from the emotional turbulence that defined her childhood. As she pushed open the glass door to her office, her assistant, Clara, immediately stood up, concern visible on her face. Ms. Bennett, are you all right? She asked softly. Ellie's expression remained composed. Yes, Clara, thank you. Clara bowed slightly. The board members are already waiting for your update. Several investors called, and Mr. Blackwood asked if you'll be attending the midnight gala. I'll join the board call first, Ellie said. Clara nodded and stepped aside. Ellie entered her office, a large, elegant space with a panoramic view of the city. Behind her sleek obsidian desk stood a wall of glass that reflected every shimmering light from the streets below. She closed the door gently and placed her hands on the desk, breathing in slowly. Her mind wandered. For years, she had buried herself in work, building, expanding, succeeding, driven by an ache she never spoke about. She wanted to prove something not to the world, but to herself. To the little girl who had once stood in the hallway holding a medal no one cared about. To the young woman who had put herself through college alone. To the daughter who was always told she was too quiet, too plain, too dramatic, too independent. But now, standing here, at the peak of everything she had built, she realized something profound. She didn't need to prove anything anymore. A soft knock came at the door. Come in, Ellie said. The door opened slowly, and Owen, head of security, stepped inside. He paused, studying her face with professional concern. Everything is secured downstairs, he reported. Your family left the hotel. Ellie exhaled quietly. Good. Owen hesitated before continuing. There's something else. Vanessa tried to access the VIP floors. She claimed she needed to talk to you urgently. We stopped her because she wasn't authorized. Ellie felt a flicker of emotion. Not anger, not satisfaction, something more like resignation. Thank you, Owen, she said. And please maintain that boundary. No access unless I personally approve it. Of course, ma'am. Owen bowed slightly and left the room. Ellie moved toward the window, placing her fingertips against the cold glass. The world outside seemed so distant, so small from this height. Her phone buzzed on the desk, 3 missed calls from her mother, 5 angry messages from Vanessa, and 1 quiet text from her father. I'm proud of you. I'm sorry it took me so long to say it. Ellie stared at the message for a long, long moment, her throat tightening. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't healing. But it was something. A beginning. A tiny, fragile step toward change that was too late, yet somehow still meaningful. She placed the phone down and joined the video conference with her board. Faces appeared on the large screen, directors and partners from 3 different continents. "Good evening, Ms. Bennett," one of them said. "We heard about a situation in the lobby today. Are you all right?" Ellie smiled gently, calm, composed, impeccably poised. "I am perfectly fine," she said, "and the situation has been resolved." The board members exchanged relieved looks. "Shall we continue?" Ellie asked. For the next 40 minutes, she discussed expansions, upcoming acquisitions, and strategic partnerships, all with the same sharp clarity and precision that built her empire. Not once did her voice shake. Not once did she lose her composure. When the call ended, she leaned back in her chair, letting her body relax for the first time that day. A soft breeze drifted in through the slightly open balcony door, carrying the scent of fresh night air. Ellie walked outside, her heels clicking softly on the polished stone. The entire city stretched before her like a glittering galaxy, millions of lives intertwined, unaware of her personal war and the quiet victory she had earned. Behind her, the glass door slid open again. Clara stepped out. "Ms. Bennett, there's someone here to see you. She says it's important." Ellie frowned. "Who?" Clara hesitated. "Vanessa." Ellie's heart tightened, but she nodded. "Let her in." Vanessa entered, eyes red, mascara smeared, trembling with anger and desperation. She looked nothing like the glamorous, arrogant woman from earlier. Her confidence had shattered. "Ellie," she whispered, "please talk to me." Ellie remained still. "I'm listening." Vanessa rushed forward. "You humiliated me. You made me look like a fool in front of everyone." Ellie's voice remained icy calm. "I didn't humiliate you. You did that yourself." Vanessa choked, her voice cracking. "I didn't know you owned the place. I didn't know you were." "That's the problem," Ellie interrupted gently. "You never bothered to know me at all." Vanessa froze. Ellie continued. "You never saw me as a sister. You saw me as a threat, a competitor, a shadow you wanted to erase." "That's not true," Vanessa cried. Ellie raised an eyebrow. "Isn't it? Since we were kids, every time I achieved something, you found a way to make it about you. Every time something good happened to me, you twisted it. Every time I tried to stand up for myself, you called me dramatic. Every insult, every dismissal, every comparison, you never stopped." Vanessa sank into a chair, covering her face with shaking hands. "But you're so successful now. You have everything. Why are you still angry?" Ellie's voice softened. "I'm not angry anymore. I'm done." Vanessa looked up, confused. "Done with what?" "With chasing love from people who refuse to give it," Ellie said quietly. Vanessa stared at her, speechless. Ellie continued. "I don't hate you, Vanessa, but I can't keep sacrificing my sanity to make you feel superior. I'm choosing peace. You should choose it too." Vanessa's lips trembled. "So, you're cutting me out." Ellie shook her head gently. "No, I'm setting boundaries. If you want to be in my life, really be in it, then you'll have to earn that place. With honesty, with respect, with effort. And if you don't, that's fine. I'll still wish you well, but you won't get to hurt me again." For once in her life, Vanessa had no argument. She slowly stood, wiping her tears. I need time to think." Ellie nodded. "Take all the time you need. Growth doesn't happen in a day." Vanessa left quietly, and the room fell into peaceful silence once more. Ellie returned to the balcony, letting the cold air brush against her skin. She placed her hands on the railing and exhaled, a long, deep breath she had been holding for years. She had faced her past, she had spoken her truth, she had reclaimed her power. And she had done it without breaking, without screaming, without losing her dignity. As the wind lifted her hair gently, she whispered to the night, "I finally choose myself, and that is enough." The city lights shimmered back at her, as if agreeing. For the first time in her life, Ellie felt truly free. The end.